Welcome back to our Unity Roguelite tutorial series. In this episode, we'll be implementing a robust and flexible health system for our game. Whether it's for the player, enemies, or even destructible objects, our approach will ensure that our health logic is reusable and decoupled using interfaces. By the end of this video, you'll have a system that can handle damage, healing, and death mechanics with ease, and we'll keep our code clean and extensible for future features. So grab your coffee and let's dive into building this essential piece of our roguelite. We're going to implement our health system using interfaces. We're going to create a new interface script. So let's go ahead and into our scripts folder, and then we will create a new folder to hold all of our health related items. So we'll call this folder health system. And then inside of our health system script, we're going to create a new script to hold our interface. So let's go ahead and go down to scripting, and then we'll choose empty C# script. And we'll call this iHealth. Okay, so the reason that we name this iHealth is because that is the typical naming convention for an interface. So the I in the front stands for interface, and then the name of the class, so health. Okay, this interface is going to define a contract for any health-related logic. So this ensures that different components like players, enemies, and objects can have health systems without tightly coupling them to specific implementations. So I've opened my script, so I'm going to go ahead and close my file structure, and we can see that this actually defined a class for us, so we need to change the class keyword to interface. And this is an interface. So what we're going to do is we're going to define our current health and our max health inside of our interface. And this ensures that anything that implements our interface will also have something called a current health and a max health. So for this, we're going to create some properties. So let's go ahead and define them as floats. And we will call one current health. And we can use this to get our health. And then we have another float called max health. And we can also get this value. Okay, so the next step is to define any functions that we need for a health system. So anything that would have health would need to be able to take damage. So let's go ahead and add a function for taking damage. And we need to know how much damage the thing is going to take. So let's go ahead and pass in the amount. Okay. Then we're going to need a function to heal our player because we might want to be able to heal. So we'll go ahead and create one for that. And I'm going to call it heal. And again, we'll pass in a float to let us know how much we're going to heal by. And then I think it would be useful to have a function to kind of reset our health. So anytime like we load a new level or you level up or we start the game, we can just go ahead and reset our health back to our max health. So let's go ahead and create a function for that. We'll call this reset health. Okay, so this is the entire definition of our interface, and this is everything that we're going to do. So next we're going to take our iHealth and we're going to implement it into a health component. And that means our health component is going to have each one of these things in it, and it's going to implement them. And the reason why this is so powerful is because we can have many different types of health components that all implement from iHealth, and they will all have a take damage, a heal, and a reset health function. But they might do different things inside of this function. Like maybe we have a regeneration type health component where when you're not taking damage for a certain amount of time, you start to regenerate your health. Whereas like a basic health component might not do that. Once you take damage, there's no regen. And our heal function will act differently in each of those. But when we take the damage, we can just call take damage and we don't need to know what it's going to do once we call the function. It'll just do it. Okay, so let's go ahead and implement our health component. So I'm going to open my file structure back up. I'm going to find our health system folder, and we're going to create a new file in there. And this one will be called health. So we'll call it health.cs. Okay, so once we've created our script, we can go ahead and implement our class here. So we'll say public class, and this is going to be a health class. And then this is going to inherit, oh, that's not how you spell health. There we go. And this is going to inherit from mono behavior because this will be able to go on to the object that needs the health. And this is going to also implement our I health. So let me close this, and then we'll add a comma after our mono behavior, and then we will say I health. And you'll see that we have this little red squiggly underneath our I health because we haven't implemented our class. We haven't fulfilled our contract. So let's go ahead and implement this. And we're going to use our quick fixes. So I pressed command and then period, and then we can see that we can implement our interface. So let's choose that option. And it's going to populate everything that was inside of our interface. And it's going to put it in a way where we can start implementing the each one. So let's go ahead and set up our current health. So this is going to be a property, and I want to make it so it is a get and private set. So we'll be able to access the current health outside of our health system if we need to, but that means we can only set our health from inside of our health class. So let's do that. And this will give us some protection so we don't like change it from a random place, and that we only allow our health to change its health. And then for our max health, I want to return a maximum health value. So for this, I want to be able to define it in our inspector so we can decide how much our max health will be. So let's go ahead and create a private float at the top here. I'm going to call this max health with a lowercase m. In C#, a lowercase m here and the uppercase m here. These are different names because case matters. So little case max health and uppercase max health are two different things. So we're going to use our lowercase max health to return. So we're going to return that from our max health. Okay, so we'll say max health. And we did say that we were going to want to set this in the inspector. So I'm going to go ahead and serialize this field. So that way we can set it in the inspector, but it can still be private. Okay, so right above this, I'm going to add my square brackets, and then I'll say serialize field. That's our second option here. And then some people like to put it up on the same line. I'm back and forth on it because like sometimes I like it and sometimes I don't, and it kind of just depends on like the situation of how everything's organized. So I'm gonna pull it up on the same line here, and then I'm gonna set it to 100 so we have a default value. Just in case like we forget to define it, it won't be 0. So that'll be helpful. And then we're good to go for our max health. So our next function here is our heal function. So let's go ahead and implement this one. So when we heal for a basic health component, we're going to just add the amount to our current health. So let's say current health plus equals amount. And then let's go ahead and clamp our current health between 0 and 100. So we don't have negative health and we can't have more than what our max health is. So we'll say current health equals, and then we'll say mathf.clamp. And we're going to clamp our current health between 0 and then our max health. And I'm going to use our uppercase max health here. Okay. And then for good measure, let's just add a debug log so we can actually test this out in our inspector. And in our scene and make sure that this is working correctly. So let's add a money sign outside here so we can use these little brackets to get our game object.name healed, and then we'll say the amount that we healed, what a period after that, and then we can say what our current health is. Say current health is, and then we'll add our current health here. Okay, then we'll add our semicolon at the end. All right, our next function is our reset health. So in here, we're just going to set our current health equal to our max health. And then let's make sure we're using our uppercase max health. Okay, and then our take damage function is our last one. So in this one, we're going to do the opposite of healing. We're going to take our current health and we're going to subtract our amount. Then we're going to clamp the value of our current health between 0 and our max health. So clamp, then we'll clamp our current health. We're going to be between 0 and our uppercase max health. Max health. Okay, and then we'll need to, let's add a debug log to say that we took damage and that how much damage we took and then how much health we have left. So we'll say GameObject.name took amount damage. Current health is current health. Okay. So then in our take damage function, if we reach 0, we might want to do something with that. So let's go ahead and check if current health is less than or equal to 0. And then let's create a function that we can call for when we die. So let's just call it on death. And let's go ahead and add that at the bottom. So we'll just say private void on death. And then we can just debug in here that we've died. So debug.log, say game object dot name has died. Add a period and then our semicolon. Okay, so that is pretty much our whole health component. The only thing that we really need to do now is just reset our health when we start the game. So at the very top, I'm going to add an awake function. So say private void awake. And then in here, we'll call our reset health function. And this will make sure that our health gets reset so we don't start at 0. We'll end up starting at 100 instead. Okay, so now that we have our health component, let's go ahead and create a couple of things that we'll be able to interact with in our scene in order to test out our health component. So for that, we're going to set up a test scene in Unity. So let's go ahead and go back to Unity. And then we'll go to our assets folder. And then we'll go to our scenes folder. And then we're going to go and right click, create, and then we'll create a new scene. So let's see. This used to be at the top, but it is no longer there. So I'm not seeing it. Okay, here we go. Scene and then scene. And here I'm just going to call this testing. Okay. And then let's go ahead and copy our player real quick. So just hold down Control-C, or you can just right click and say copy. We'll go into our test scene. So we'll save the scene. And then we're going to paste our player in here. So then we'll be able to play and we should be able to run around and move around. And then our camera is not going to follow our player in this scene, but that's okay because we just need to walk into a couple things to make sure that things are working. All right, so then in this scene, let's go ahead and create a new object. And we're going to call this damage dealer. And let's go ahead and reset this so it's at 0, 0, 0. And I'm going to add a sprite to it. So we'll create a sprite renderer component. And then I'm going to give this one of my floor tiles, just so we can tell what it is. And then I'm going to make it red just so we know it's damage, right? Okay, and then in our scene, let's go ahead and just move it away from our player, but we should make sure that it's still like visible in our camera. So that looks good. Maybe I'll move it closer, probably like right here. Okay, perfect. And then our damage dealer is going to basically be a trigger box that we can walk onto, and then it's going to deal some damage to us. So let's go ahead and add a collider 2D to this. So we'll say collider, box collider 2D, here we go. And then instead of it being a collider, we're going to make it a trigger. So just make sure that this is trigger checkbox is checked. And that's everything that we need shy of our damage dealer component. So let's go ahead and create that. So in our scripts folder, inside of our health system, let's create a new folder. And I'm going to call this testing. And then inside of our testing folder, we'll create a new mono behavior script. And this will be called damage dealer. And then I'm going to go ahead and just add that to our object so you don't forget to do it later. And we can double click the object or our script to go ahead and open it. So this is going to just be a trigger. So let's go ahead and allow us to define how much damage we're going to do. So let's create a public float damage amount. I'm going to set that to 10, but we'll be able to change it in the inspector. Okay, and then we'll create our on trigger enter. So we'll say on trigger enter 2D. This takes in a collider 2D, and I'm going to call it other. And then inside of here, what we can do is we can check if the thing that walks into this damage dealer has a I health interface. We can go ahead and call the take damage function. So let's say I health and then call it health and set that equal to other.get component and I health. Okay. So the beauty of using an interface is that you can interact with the health system without needing to know the specific implementation. So for example, in a script that applies damage, so our damage dealer, we'll go ahead and get our health component, the I health. And so this doesn't matter if it's a health component or like a regen health component or any type of health component. No matter how it's going to apply damage, we don't need to know it. We just need to know that it has a health interface and that all health interfaces have a take damage function. So if our health is not null, we can call health.takeDamage, and then we can pass in our damage amount. And it really doesn't matter what type of health component we have, we can just call it and it'll work. So that's really the power in using interfaces. Okay, so now that we have this, let's go ahead and add her to our object. So we actually already did that. I usually do it after. Sometimes I do it before, but I usually do it after. So we have that, and now we should be able to add a health component to our player, which we already did. So good there. So now all we have to do is walk into this and we should be able to take some damage. So let's go ahead and open our console, and then I'll click into my scene and I'll just walk on here and we can see that we took some damage. Walk on there again, we took even more damage. Right, so we can definitely see that our take damage function is working. So let's create a something that's going to heal us when we walk onto it. So we're going to go ahead and just duplicate the damage dealer, and I guess we'll call it a healer dealer. Okay, and then we'll take off the damage dealer script, and then we'll create a new script and we'll call it healer dealer. So let's go ahead and in our testing inside of our health system folder, let's go ahead and create a new mono behavior script. I'm going to call it healer dealer. Okay, and then we'll open it. And then inside of here, we'll delete this. And then we're going to go to our damage dealer script and we'll copy and paste all of this. It's going to be the same except for the take damage thing. And then instead of calling take damage, we're going to call it heal. And then we can just rename our damage amount. So I just used function F2 on my laptop. It's an Apple, so that will rename it. If you have Windows, I think you can do Control RR and that should open the rename. If you can't get that to work, then it just means that your mappings are different, so you'll have to look inside of Visual Studio to figure out what your mappings are. So let's rename this from damage amount to heal amount, just so it matches what we're doing. And we'll save this and go back to Unity. And then inside of our test scene, we'll go to our healer dealer. We'll move it to a new spot. And then I'm going to go ahead and change my healer dealer from red to like blue or something. That's purple. So we'll do like that. And that'll be blue, so that's blue for healing. Okay. And then let's add our healer dealer script to our healer dealer game object. Okay, cool. So let's save that, and then we should be able to test this. Let's go ahead and press play. And then with our character, let's walk into our damage. Well, first let's open our console so we can see it, and then we'll walk into our damage. And we'll see that we take some damage. So let's do that a few times, and then let's go take some health. Okay, so let's go heal. So we'll walk up into our healer dealer. And we can see that we've healed 10 and our current health is 60. So we'll do that a few times until we're at 100. Okay, we're at 100. Let's walk into again to heal again. And we can see that our health will stay at 100. and we can't heal more than 100. So every time it debugs, it's going to be like, nope, it's 100. Okay, and then let's just test what happens if we reach 0. So we'll go walk into our damage dealer. Okay, we've hit 0 and it says current health is 0, player has died. So let's go ahead and walk into that again, and we'll see player current health is 0, player has died. All right, so that is working. So our health system is fully functional. And that's it for our video. So we've successfully implemented a versatile health system using interfaces, making it easy to manage health for any object in our game. With this system, you can now handle damage, healing, and even customize health behaviors for unique gameplay mechanics. In the next episode, we'll take things further by adding combat mechanics, building on what we've created today to make our game even more dynamic. If you found this tutorial helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you won't miss the next one. And as always, drop your questions, feedback, or even your progress updates in the comments. I'd really love to hear about how your roguelite is coming along. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy developing!